A few days ago, it was my birthday, and I spent my big day being interviewed by the great Oren Cohen on the Geek Peak podcast, which lasted about 3 hours, which is quite singular, given that the average interview on that podcast has lasted between an hour to an hour and a half at a stretch. Now, during that conversation, which I think will be released early next year, sometime between January and February, we spoke a lot about content creation, but we also got the chance to ponder why I haven't been making videos recently. And if you'd like to know those reasons, you can go watch the podcast when it comes out. But I do have one or two things to talk about. Firstly, what I will say is the main obstacle that's stopping me from making content is always me. Now, that's not to say that there aren't very good reasons to not make videos sometimes, because there are. But when there aren't, I will just take a small reason and then inflate it to a point that it's not even recognizable anymore. All to justify me doing absolutely nothing. And that's a character trait that needs addressing, and I'm gonna do my best to try and get over that. I am the issue. Now, that's not to mean that there aren't very good reasons to not make content sometimes, because there are. For example, recently I had to go get sinus surgery, which was as unpleasant as you could imagine. It started out, I was supposed to be getting a bog standard tooth removal, but after getting the x-ray and going through all those processes, the dentist told me, and this is verbatim, I have the largest teeth that he has ever seen in anybody ever. In fact, the dentist assistant, when I was getting the surgery done, when she thought that I couldn't, hear her because I was all spun out and dazed from the medicine, she said that I had teeth like a shark. Cheeky bitch. That surgery and the recovery from that surgery was quite an ordeal because they lay out a number of rules that you have to follow. These are the rules, okay? Number 1, no sneezing. Sneezing is verboten. You're not allowed to sneeze. That is rule 1. And that's annoying and difficult, but okay, I can manage. I'll distract myself if I need to sneeze, or I'll pinch my nose. I will avoid it. In order to avoid blowing out my sinuses through my mouth hole from the surgery, I will avoid sneezing. That's fine. But that's made more difficult by rule 2, because rule 2 is you're not allowed to stop yourself from sneezing, because that's worse. Try wrap your head around that. The first 2 rules are don't sneeze and don't sneeze. And then the third rule is you're not allowed to blow your nose, which was very difficult because at the time I had a cold and I was trying to avoid letting on that I had a cold because I didn't want them to cancel the surgery because I'd already been waiting a while. So that became very difficult. I had to go through a cold without blowing my nose. It was a whole ordeal. Actually, now I mention it, I've had a cold a lot recently. I had a cold then, and then a few weeks later I had a different cold, and then the one I've just gone through, the one I'm recovering from now, has been worse than a cold. It's been I thought I had Ebola or tuberculosis or something. It was something life-threatening. I thought COVID finally got me. Because, you remember that, pandemic? That was funny, wasn't it? All you guys were all coughing and stuff, and I didn't get COVID. But I think it may have caught up with me and I finally got COVID. Now, all of those are very good reasons to not make videos. But then I'll find random gubbins to do to procrastinate making videos. For example, you see that bookshelf? That bookshelf was not there 2 days ago. I sat down to film this video and my procrastination brain went, the background's too plain. You know what you need? You need a bookshelf. And so I went out, got a bookshelf, and spent the night building that bookshelf so I had a more interesting background. To me, I can justify that by going, I am adding to the video. I'm making the background a bit more interesting. But the truth is, it was entirely to avoid making the video. This video doesn't require a bookshelf, does it? What was annoying about building that bookshelf is that the instruction manual tells you not to use power tools. It advises, do not use power tools. But then, on the next page, it lists the things you may need, and one of them is a power tool. It boggles the mind. So in the end, I built the whole thing by hand, and it took me a few hours, thus giving me not enough time to film a video. What a coincidence. But then I've also been working on my side project, which is, you might not know, I have a small second YouTube channel where I make videos filming on old-timey VHS camcorders and stuff. And that has had its own issues because in the last 6 months, I've been surrounded by old ladies screaming in my face because they didn't want to be filmed in a bingo hall, which is perfectly fine, but I wasn't filming them. I was nowhere near them. They came over in order to yell in my face. So I've been under attack by the Blue Rinse Brigade, and I also had the police called on me because I was filming in an empty park. One of the neighbors called the police on me, and that obviously doesn't give me good feelings towards making those videos. So that has had its own difficulties as well. And then there's the issues that affect everybody, like finding inspiration. Unfortunately, inspiration's not something that you create. It's something that sort of happens to you. It's like daydreaming. Daydreaming happens to you. You don't choose to daydream. Like, I was on a train recently, and I was trying to read a book, and I kept sort of dazing off because I think I've got ADHD or something. And I found myself just zone out to another world. And then when I sobered up, I found that I'd just been staring at this poor woman the whole time. I felt sorry for her. She looked horrified. And I just wanted to say, listen, I didn't mean to be staring at you, but I didn't choose to daydream. I'm as much of a victim to this simulation as you are. Like, I didn't say to myself, okay, Moby, time to start the simulation. It's time to imagine that you're on one of the planes on 9/11 and you're stopping the attacks. I didn't choose to do that. That just happened, right? So I'm as much of a victim to it because the daydreaming just happens to you and inspiration just happens to you. But unfortunately, daydreaming happens a lot to me and inspiration doesn't. Incidentally, the book I was reading at the time, it was a book by an old-time YouTuber who got cancelled many years ago. And in it, he was speaking about the inspiration behind YouTube, which is actually really fascinating. The idea behind the creation of YouTube started back in 2004. There was this scandal where at the Super Bowl, Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson had choreographed this dance, and there was a point where Justin Timberlake was supposed to grab a hold of Janet Jackson's clothes and accidentally reveal her lingerie to the world. But Justin Timberlake made a hames of the whole thing and revealed way too much. Revealed way too much of Janet Jackson to about 130 million Americans watching at the time. And the man who later went on to create YouTube was so incensed that he missed that moment and that the video wasn't available online that he was led to create a video platform so that he would never miss anything like that ever again. And you know the first YouTube video that was ever uploaded? It's called Me at the Zoo. The man in that video, that was Jawed Karim. That was the man who was so desperate to see Janet Jackson nude that he created the most successful website on the internet of all time. Jawed, you a naughty, naughty boy. I also happen to know that the creation of Google's image search was inspired by everybody online desperately trying to find out who made the hideous green dress that Jennifer Lopez wore to the Grammys in the year 2000. I'm sure the people who were trying to find that would probably had very similar intentions as Jawed Karim. Anyway, those are my excuses and I'm sticking to them. Also, I got addicted to Uno Mobile and that's been taking up most of my time. And today, I lost all of my coins in the game and I've had nothing better to do with my time, so I thought I'd better stop procrastinating and finally make this video. So if you enjoyed it, subscribe. I'll see you again in 6 months and I hope you have a very good Christmas. Also, I am still streaming, yada yada yada. Description, Twitch. Bye!